Hi, I'm Keith, and today we're going to learn how to see, sniff, swirl, and sip wine. But before we do anything, as usual, I would love to implore you, I would love to compel you, I compel you to subscribe, just like The Exorcist. I don't know where you are on your wine journey. If you just want to put wine in a glass and drink it, awesome. Again, it's your bottle of wine. You do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. But if you are on a journey where wine is so important to you that you need to get inside it, you have to understand it. You're like, what is it about wine that makes people freak out? Well, that is looking at the wine, smelling the wine, sipping the wine. But when you're doing that, like anybody else does, you're assessing each thing. And as you do that, you start training your brain to understand wine more. And you'll start to appreciate the nuances, and you'll start to appreciate each individual grape or blend that you try. Or maybe you want to look like a wine snob. That's cool. First thing you want to do is look at the wine. It's red. Good. You started. Honestly, that's a thing. Your mind is confirming this is a red wine. I know it's stupid and it's fundamental and it's elementary, but it is what it is. And what's really cool about that is, yeah, it's a red wine, but what you can also see is that you can kind of see through it. If I put my hand under here, I can see my hand. That is an indication of higher acidity. You know right away the wine is not very heavy, because if it was, it'd be opaque and you wouldn't be able to see through it. So this is a Pinot Noir. I actually have two Pinot Noirs here. And looking at a wine also helps you indicate the age of a wine. You'll notice this glass is a nice ruby color, very vibrant and red. This glass, a little bit of an orangish, brickish, rusty. There's a little bit of a rusty, kind of brickish color around the edges of it. If you take it and kind of like do that, that's an indication of age. So right away, just by looking at a wine, you can tell if it's a light-bodied wine, whether it's a young wine, or whether it's an aged wine. You just saw. Now, this is the most stressful part for people smelling the wine, because first we see, then we sniff. One thing about nosing a wine, it's the fancy way of just saying smelling a wine. Every aroma you have experienced in your life is in your hard drive called a brain. When you smell a wine, if you have not smelled something, you will not smell it in a wine. If you have never smelled gooseberries, you'll never smell gooseberries in a wine. And if you're in a social environment and someone's like, I'm getting gooseberries, and you're like, what? That's totally fine, because you never had them before. You're never gonna know. It's okay. Also, if you smell a wine and it smells grapey, hey, the wine was made from grapes. It can smell grapey. Everything you smell in a wine is correct. Also, you don't need to pull out all the things in the universe in the wine. You don't have to get esoteric. All you have to do is confirm what you are smelling is something you enjoy. Then, if it brings you pleasure, aromas will come or they won't. It doesn't really matter. That's what nosing a wine is all about. When you pour wine into a glass, it's still a little bit closed up. But what's really cool about that is you can basically experience wine opening up in real time. So before you even swirl a glass, put your nose in there. I'm confirming I like the nose of this wine. So obviously I like the wine. Now I'm going, haven't swirled yet. I'm getting some cherries, a little bit of soil, maybe some mushrooms, because that's what I get in the wine. Is there like some cinnamon in there? Maybe. If I didn't get that cinnamon and someone else said it and I smelled it and go, oh yeah, there is some cinnamon in there. That's totally fine. That's how we nose a wine. Does it give you pleasure? Is there anything you can bring out of it? If not, don't worry about it. Then what you do is swirl it. This is what I do. Now, when you swirl a wine, what you're doing is you're encouraging oxygen to get in there and open it up. All the volatile stuff in there is rising up through the glass, all these vapors. And as we swirl it, it begins to brown. Imagine taking an apple, cutting it in half, sitting it on a table, go watching an episode of Succession, coming back, and you see that the apple is browned. That's exactly what's happening in wine. And what we're doing here, we're slightly encouraging oxygen to start browning the wine. You'll never see it really brown in red wine, you'll see it in white wine. So now that I've swirled it, initially I had cherries, there's some soil in there, there's some mushrooms, but now that I gave it a good swirl and put my nose back in there, the vanilla is coming out. This wine has seen oak. So already we know this is a light body red wine. This one's a little bit young, this one's a little bit old. We got cherries initially, we got soil, and now we've swirled it and a little bit of that vanilla is coming out, so we now know the wine has been oaked. Oh my gosh, you are now creating a profile for yourself and getting more confident as we speak. I can feel it. When we're smelling wine, there are 3 types of wine. There are primary aromas, secondary aromas, and tertiary aromas. The primary aromas are whatever aromas are inherent in the variety. For example, this is Pinot Noir. Cherries is just what Pinot Noir has. That is a primary aroma that is derived from the actual grape itself. A secondary aroma is after I swirled that Pinot Noir, I smell a little bit of oak, a little bit of vanilla. That means the wine initially did not have that aroma in it. It was added to oak, and then the oak imparted a little bit of vanilla into the wine. Therefore, it's a secondary aroma. So we have primary aroma cherries, secondary aroma would be the vanilla. If a wine has aged for a while, it takes on what we call tertiary aromas. Aromas that some people call a little more sophisticated, but they're just different. For example, this is a 2017. This is an older Pinot Noir. And when I nose this wine, smell, nose, different things are happening. The cherry is almost gone. It's almost like a cherry liqueur. It's almost as if it's been caramelized slightly. Now we're building an even more confident profile. You know about primary aromas, secondary and tertiary aromas. You're on your way. And now we get to do the thing that everybody wants to do, is taste the wine. Watch this. You've just sipped the wine. You're so excited. You see what I did there? All that kind of craziness that I did? But what you want to do is, once you put the wine onto your palate, you want to get it all in there. Between your teeth and your gums and everywhere. Swish it around. Kind of like Listerine, but not like as aggressive as Listerine. Just kind of like get it all around and all that stuff. And then if you'd like, you can even draw air in like I did. Now it's a little bit annoying and it's a little bit hard to do. The first time I did, I got dribbled all over myself. It's totally fine. Get a bib, I don't know. Once the wine is on your palate, you're basically confirming all of the aromas on the nose, because on your palate, those are aromas, not flavors. We call them flavors, and that's fine if we do, but it's actually aromas on your palate. And what's happening is, on your palate, while you're doing all this, whether you bring oxygen in or not, all that aroma is going back behind your nose, your retronasal passage, to your olfactory bulb and confirming all the stuff you just smelled. When wine is on your palate though, aroma isn't really what we're going for. I mean, it's there, it confirms, maybe a little bit more, that's fine. But really what we're doing on the palate is we're assessing the texture of a wine. Is it salty? Is it sweet? Is it sour? Also, what kind of depth does it have? Does it have any weight on the palate? Is it dry? Is it drying out the sides of your mouth? Is there a lift on the palate? Is there all that acidity kind of like not allowing the wine to weigh you down? These are things that actually just help you enjoy the wine more because you're thinking about the wine. So let me know in the comments below. Have you done this before? Have you swirled? Have you sniffed? Have you sipped? Do you do this thing when you bring the oxygen in? Have you dribbled on yourself? It's totally cool if you have. You can comment and say that because I have too. It's totally fine. I'm Keith and I will see, swirl, sniff, and sip you later. What?